It's so easy when we're out and about just to pick up a plant, pop it in our trolley, bring it home, but have no idea where the plant will thrive and what the best room is for it. I remember doing this a lot when I was quite new into plant care, because I had all these lovely plants growing around me in my garden in South Africa. When I moved to the UK and started bringing houseplants into my space, I had to learn what the best position and the best room for all of these plants were. I've learned through trial and error, and in this video I'm going to be sharing some of the plants that I have in my rooms in my home, from my bathroom, my kitchen, my bedroom, my dining room, because there's so much that we have to consider when it comes to buying plants and bringing it into my space. So hopefully in this video it will give you some tips and some inspiration for when you are out and about plant shopping and looking for a specific plant for a specific room. Hopefully this video will help. So let's get going. There are quite a few things to consider before buying a plant and bringing it into our space. If we want to make sure that the plant is thriving longer term, there are some things to consider, like the right light, how busy we are and our lifestyle. If you're someone who is really busy with your family life, or if you're traveling a lot with work, low maintenance, easy care for options would be the best for your space. Whether you have drafty corners in your windowsills, because some plants don't like a drafty corner. Whether you have small children or pets that might be munching your plants, because some plants could be toxic. So there are a few things to consider, but it doesn't have to be difficult as long as you can get the basics right and start with easy, low maintenance plants that are not fussy. You are off to a good start. So saying that, let's start with my bathroom, and I'll share some plants that I have had in my bathroom over the years that are low maintenance, easy, humidity loving plants. I've had many plants in my bathroom over the years, and I love mixing and rotating. It feels a bit like a new bathroom every time when I have a new plant in there. This plant was tiny when I started it off in my bathroom, and it just very quickly, well, I say very quickly, maybe over a couple of years or so, gosh, started to grow a little bit out of control. It's a Sansevieria, and as you can see, it's just kind of poking and prodding out. And here is another one that I've also had in my bathroom that I've rotated out. Sansevieria plants are the least fussy plant I probably have in my collection. They can thrive in slightly lower light conditions, bright light conditions. They like humidity, they like dry conditions. They can thrive off a bit of neglect. They are so easy and so forgiving. So I moved this particular one out because we were just poking ourselves constantly, because as you can see, it's just kind of taking over and veering into our space as we come out the shower. So I've moved it out and it's now in my plant room. You can have so many different shapes, sizes, varieties of Sansevieria, and it doesn't need to take up a lot of space. I have a large Sansevieria in my plant room. You can have a tiny one. You can even have a small one like this, which I will get onto, that my son has in his bedroom. It doesn't have to be big to make a nature impact in any space. Some other bathroom plants that I have loved having in my bathroom is philodendron. Again, such an easy, low maintenance plant. They love the humidity of a shower room. Pothos, again, there's such a huge variety of pothos that you can have in your space. You can have them trailing, you can have them slightly smaller standing up. Another one is begonia. I currently have a begonia in my bathroom downstairs. They also love the humidity, and all of these plants that I'm showing you are not really that fussy with temperature fluctuations, because our shower room, our bathroom can get really quite warm and humid with us all taking showers. But then during the day when the temperature drops and no one's having a shower and the heating isn't on, the temperature can drop again. So find yourself a plant that is a low maintenance, non-fussy plant that can handle temperature fluctuations, that can handle a warm, steamy room from a shower. And even if you have one tiny plant in there, I just feel any plant transforms a space. And it's just lovely to have any kind of plant, no matter how big or small, in all rooms of your house, because it just adds such a nature element. Because when you move into all of those different rooms, you see a bit of nature and a bit of greenery whenever you go in there. When it comes to a kitchen, again, a kitchen is a room with fluctuating temperatures. In my kitchen, I have two windows. One is more of a south-facing window that gets constant light and constant sun during the day. And in there, I have some hardy succulents and cacti, like these kind. Hello. Ah, she's come to see me again. Come on, come and say hello. This is Lola, if you haven't seen Lola yet. She is becoming a bit braver coming into my plant room because my plant room is up above some steep steps. So she flies up those steps, but she struggles to get down because they're so steep. So it's quite nice that she's come to find me because it's not very often. She's often down on the sofa, but she's obviously wondered where I was, so she's come up. Right, I need to carry on. So my kitchen, can't remember where I was. I have two windows in my kitchen, and one is more of a south-facing window where I have succulents and cacti, like these hardy plants in there. I have an old window in that corner as well, so there's a lot of drafts coming in and out. So these hardy succulents and cacti are perfect for that windowsill because it gets the right light, but also they don't mind the drafty window and the windowsill that it's on. I also have a west facing corner, I would say, in my kitchen, and in there I currently have my large Dieffenbachia. I have to make sure that I turn my Dieffenbachia regularly because otherwise it gets a flat side that's against the wall. I find Dieffenbachia one of my easiest plants as well. However, I know that some of you have said that you've struggled with Dieffenbachia in the past. But for me personally, I find it such a low maintenance plant, and my Dieffenbachia is just pushing out new leaves every 2 weeks now. I fertilize it, it's in a bright spot. I clean the leaves to make sure that I remove dust, and apart from that, I just water when the top few inches of the soil is dry. So for my west facing corner, I have my Dieffenbachia, and for my sunny windows, I have some hardy succulents and cacti. I have another second window that's also kind of a west-south facing window. It gets a lot of bright light, and in there, I'm not going to pick up my large euphorbia, but in there I have a couple of euphorbia because they are, again, super easy. They love bright light and they can tolerate some neglect as well. This was a rescue, and as you can see, it's a little bit wobbly, but I am propping it up because it had root rot. So I rescued most of the plant and I do need to repot it. Leaves are dropping. But euphorbia are great. If you've got a very sunny conservatory or south-facing window that gets a lot of sun, euphorbia are great for those sunny corners. I find my euphorbia also don't mind if it's a slightly draftier corner, and they just thrive off a bit of neglect and a lot of sun. So if you've got a very sunny corner or a very sunny conservatory or a greenhouse or anything like that that doesn't get any frost, because those plants won't tolerate the frost, get yourself some hardy succulents and cacti, some euphorbia, because they'll just thrive in the light. Another great option for a kitchen counter, I find, is a terrarium. I have a large terrarium on my kitchen counter that gets some bright light, but it never gets direct sun in that corner. So I thought, I built a terrarium and thought, I have a space on my counter in my kitchen to fill. I'm going to pop my terrarium on there. I built it a year ago now, and I haven't opened it once because all the layers that I have in here created a bit of an ecosystem. I've got live moss, which creates the humidity to help the plant thrive. So if you're looking for a low maintenance option for a bright kitchen counter, for example, terrarium is a great option. The plants do grow every so often, and then I just nip it and pop it into some soil and make a new plant. But if you don't have a terrarium, get yourself one, build yourself one. I have made a terrarium making video, so go and have a little look back on my channel of how to make your own terrarium. It's super easy. And a question I get asked a lot about closed terrariums is whether you can place little succulents like these or even cacti in a closed vessel like this. My answer is always no, because once that lid goes on and once you have the plants in and the soil and everything else, it creates a little ecosystem that's very warm and humid and often quite damp in here. These plants thrive in dry conditions, so a damp, humid terrarium won't be the best environment for them. Of course, if you want to have these succulents and cacti in a vase like this, you could of course remove the lid and have an open succulent terrarium. Of course, that would be great. It would be a great environment for these little plants, and it will look lovely as well. But with a lid on and with live moss and everything that's in a closed terrarium, I wouldn't recommend succulents and cacti because they simply won't survive in this warm, humid, often quite not wet but damp environment. When it comes to bedroom plants, I do love a plant in a bedroom. I don't have many plants in my bedroom because I have a slightly darker bedroom with a small window to the front and a window to the back. But ZZ plants are a great addition to a bedroom. If you don't have a lot of space, they're great for growing up tall. They don't take up a lot of room. They are very low maintenance. I find if I have plants in a bedroom, it has to be a plant that's low maintenance because I don't tend to navigate and move into my bedroom as I would do downstairs in my sitting room or kitchen every day. I tend to go to my bedroom to get ready to go to bed, and it's not somewhere where I'll be checking my plants regularly. So we all have plants in our bedrooms. My boys, I do. And it's just such a lovely addition to have a bit of greenery in any space. My son has a Sansevieria. This card just fell off. Let me just pop this little card back in. He also has an umbrella plant in there. They are both really low maintenance. His room gets some bright indirect light, and Sansevieria, especially because children don't remember to water their plants. So Sansevieria, ZZ, they are great options to have in a bedroom. My other son also has a slightly different variety of Sansevieria in his bedroom, and he also at one point had a little terrarium in there that I built for him. So if you're looking for bedroom plants, I would always say go for low maintenance, easy. Let me just put this back because I've got another great bedroom plant that I've just thought of that I would like to show you. It's a plant that I add to offices quite a lot because it's another low maintenance plant, and that's Aglaonema. There are so many great varieties of Aglaonema, and they are so low maintenance that you wouldn't have to water it every 7 days, even maybe every, I don't know, 10, 12 days, depending on the environment that it's in. They are quite forgiving if you don't give it a drink on time. But I've got another Aglaonema which I'm going to show you. They are really beautiful. You can have different sizes, different colours, and it's another very low maintenance option that you can have in your bedroom that doesn't take up a lot of space. In my living room and dining room area, it's quite open and free-flowing. So I love having a couple of statement plants in the corners to fill the room with greenery. I have a lovely Dracaena in one corner and I have a ficus in another corner of my dining room. Both of these options are again very low maintenance, especially the Dracaena doesn't need a lot of light, so it's quite happy in the corner where it is. My ficus gets a slightly brighter corner with some of the morning sun that comes in, but both of these plants are super low maintenance options. Slightly smaller plant options for a dining room, for example, that's warm and sunny, could be a lovely Tradescantia. Syndapsis is also a beautiful plant. You can have it as a small plant or even as a trailing one that I have here. These plants can tolerate slightly lower light conditions. It can tolerate slightly brighter light conditions. It's really not a fussy plant. So depending on how big you want to go or small you want to go, those are some great dining room options, or even a terrarium. A lovely terrarium on a dining room, I think, makes a beautiful addition. It's low maintenance, you don't need to do anything to it. And especially if you get a beautiful vase, a beautiful vessel, whether it's an open or a closed terrarium, I think it's a great addition to a dining room table. Plant care really doesn't need to be complicated. Like I said earlier, if you just find some low maintenance, easy to care for plants that don't need a lot of attention to begin with, you are off to a good start. Most of these plants that I've shown you today are, in my experience, very low maintenance, very fuss-free, and they don't cost a lot of money either. I don't like spending a lot of money on plants, but I do like adding greenery to my collection and adding nature in my space. And even if I have multiple varieties in different rooms, I don't mind that either, because my main purpose is to add nature and greenery to my space without spending a lot of money. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of my plants that I have in certain rooms in my house. If you have a certain room and looking for a plant, drop in the comments below what your room is and what kind of light you are getting, so that we can help you find the right plant for your room. If you have any questions about your plants or any of the plants that I've shown here today, please also drop it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.